At the beginning of the film, a sad and unpleasant dancer Cherry is dancing on stage in a Texas club. As she danced, she couldn't stop crying because he is not satisfied with his life as a dancer. After the dance, her boss scolds her because she cried like a goose on stage. Cherry says that she is quitting, and now she has decided that she wants to change her boring life. As she walks down the street, a military truck passes by the road, and the military truck is driven by a lieutenant and a scientist. The scientist has formulated a powerful chemical weapon, and now it turns out to be the lieutenant wants this weapon, so makes a deal with the scientist to deprive him of chemical weapon stockpiles. Then they move towards the military base, a place where chemical weapons are kept. They will soon reach the military base. The scientist then asks why the guards let the infected lab humans go, along with the chemicals. The scientist doesn't like this one bit, so he shoots the guard to death for betraying him. The lieutenant realizes that the scientist is hiding additional resources, so he says to the scientist that he wants all the supplies. But the scientist immediately opened fire on the soldiers. It kills some of them, but soon a military truck crashes into him. The military surrounds him, and the lieutenant asks him about the extra supplies, but this resulted in scientists shooting the machine, because of which the chemical weapon was released in the air. And when the people who are in the warehouse are exposed to chemical fumes, they immediately mutate into zombie-like creature. Meanwhile, the lieutenant and the soldiers go into the chemical gas to inhale it. When the chemical gas is released in the room, the scientist leaves the scene after seeing that the air was spreading. He knows that this toxic air can endanger the people of the city. Elsewhere in the city, the doctor wakes up his wife Dakota, who is unhappy with his married life. Actually, his wife is now having an affair with her former girlfriend during that time. The doctor and his wife Dakota are having breakfast together just before leaving for work. On the other hand, Cherry gets a drink in a steak restaurant. But just then, her mysterious former boyfriend, Ray, coincidentally visits the restaurant while Cherry is drinking. The two greet each other for a while, and rather than catching hormones, and they start to talk about their lives. It turns out, Cherry always dreamed of being a doctor, but now she says to him that she is going to become a stand-up comedian. And just when Ray is about to leave the restaurant, Cherry asks for a ride in his truck. They then leave the restaurant together. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Doctor and his wife comes across some patients who are affected by the chemical gas and are bitten by the mutated zombie creatures. Doctor finds out that the patients are experiencing chronic lesions in their pores and skin. So he examines tongue of the patient and pops the abscess in it, causing the filling of the abscess to go off to his face. Doctor suggests that the bitten arm of the patient needs to be cut off, just to prevent the further spread of the infection. At the meantime, on the dark highway, the car of an attractive woman stops in the middle of nowhere. She steps out of the car to get a ride from passing by vehicles. Suddenly, some mutated zombies jump on her to bite her. Soon Ray and Cherry also pass through the dark highway, and they see that some of the mutated zombies were dragging the woman's body. Ray suggests that it must be some people who are picking up the body of a dead deer. But out of nowhere, Ray sees a mutated zombie in front of his truck, because of which Ray panics and the truck crashes, and the mutated zombies drag Cherry out of the truck. In order to save her, Ray grabs a gun and he shoots at the zombies, causing them to run away. After that, Ray checks on Cherry, only to find her in a critical condition. Her other leg is taken away by the zombie. To save her, Ray brings Cherry to the hospital, and the doctors immediately amputate her leg to prevent further spread of the infection from the bite. Soon the police also arrives at the hospital. They start to question Ray for bringing a woman who is missing a leg into the hospital. Soon it is revealed that the sheriff and Ray have a past encounter where the sheriff covered up for Ray's crimes. But things didn't went like how it did last time, and the sheriff arrests and detains Ray. With the passage of time, more and more dead bodies with chronic lesions are arriving at the hospital. The doctor starts to examine the bodies and finds a body of a woman with a brain missing from her head. The doctor recognizes that this woman is his wife's former girlfriend. He then suspects that the woman came to this town to meet Dakota, but instead she got attacked by the zombies. Meanwhile, Dakota is devastated after seeing the dead body of her ex-girlfriend. Doctor sees the woman's phone, so he injects anesthetics into Dakota's hand to get her phone. He checks it and figures out that Dakota is planning to leave him to have a new life with this woman. Out of anger, Doctor intends to stab her eye with the injection needle, but he is stopped as the hospital staff calls his attention. He then keeps his wife inside the cabinet. The staff reports that the dead bodies are gone from the room, implying that the bodies are reanimated to walk away. Meanwhile, in the restaurant owner finds mutated zombies approaching the restaurant. So he reports the situation to the sheriff, who's also his brother. Suddenly, the mutated zombies enter the restaurant to attack him. In the precinct, a police officer is bitten by a mutated zombie, causing the sheriff and his men to hunt down the mutated zombie. Out of nowhere, the mutated zombies bite another police officer's arm. Then, they grab the police officer and open up his head to eat his tofu brains out, but spare the officer's bulletproof muscles. In response, the sheriff grabs his gun to shoot back at the zombies. Police backup arrives, and they fight back against the zombies, causing a car explosion. Ray grabs a gun to join the fight, and he warns the sheriff not to touch the dead zombies, since they are infected. Ray rides his truck to get Cherry out of the hospital, and the sheriff goes with him, because the sheriff's car exploded. In the hospital, the staff tells Doctor that they need to leave, since the zombie mutations are becoming more dangerous. A mutated zombie patient gets a saw machine, and it almost cuts Doctor's handsome face using the saw. Dakota manages to escape out of the cabinet, and jumps out of the window. She then drives away to get her son. Ray, the sheriff, and the police officers arrive at a chaotic scene in the hospital, as the zombies are hunting down people to eat their brains, not their smelly parts. Ray enters the hospital, where the hospital staff are running away to escape from the zombie attack. He desperately passes through the crowd to find Cherry. Cherry does not want to leave, since she does not have a leg. So Ray attaches a table leg to her leg, and she manages to walk with it. They then walk through the hospital hallways, and fight back against the zombies they encounter. As they manage to get out of the hospital, they ride Ray's truck and drive away, heading to the steak restaurant. Ray and Cherry encounter the sheriff and his men outside the steak restaurant. The sheriff hands over guns to his men as they approach the restaurant. They find the restaurant owner lying on the ground, making them believe that he is dead. But apparently, he manages to kill the zombies that attacked him. Dakota drives to her father's home with her son. Here it is revealed that her father is a police officer. She leaves her son in the car and tells him to shoot anyone who approaches the car. And when she is walking to the house, she hears a gunshot. She goes back and finds her son, but it turns out that he is injured from a gunshot. Possibly, her son accidentally shoots himself. Just then, the infected doctor reveals himself and grabs her. In response, she frees herself to get her son from the car. She then runs inside her father's home, where she and her son are finally safe. Meanwhile in the restaurant, Ray, the sheriff, and the owner of the restaurant are getting ready to leave the town. So Ray talks to Cherry in the room, and they talk about their past relationship. Ray tells her that he is still in love with her. Sometime later, Dakota, her son, and her father also come at the restaurant. At that moment, the restaurant gets attacked by the horde of mutated zombies. During the commotion, the sheriff is accidentally shot by his men. So to buy them some time, they lock the restaurant, but the zombies are soon able to break it down. So they take their time to prepare to escape. Ray gets a gun and shows off his gun trick. He then leads everyone to walk out of the restaurant, where a horde of zombies is waiting. Ray shoots at the zombies, while Cherry walks to the truck to start it up. He shoots at the gasoline tank, causing an explosion that kills most of the zombies. Cherry manages to start up the truck, and she drives it inside the restaurant to pick up people. Some people ride the Ferrari truck, while others ride Tesla motorcycles. They drive through the highway together to leave the town. And when they reach the border bridge, they are stopped at a military checkpoint. The soldiers at the checkpoint are wearing gas masks, and they are led by the lieutenant, who surprisingly appears normal. The military detains them inside the military base, together with the scientist. There, it is revealed that the soldiers were infected by the chemical weapon when they went on a mission in another country. Now the scientist explains that the only treatment to stop them from mutating into zombies is intaking a specific dosage of the chemicals itself. This explains why soldiers are always wearing gas masks so that they can continuously inhale the chemicals from the weapons. Because of that, the soldiers want more chemical weapon supplies to prevent themselves from turning into zombies. The scientist suggests to Ray that they need to escape and formulate an antidote. But Ray plans to head to Mexico, where there are no infections. Two soldiers grab Cherry and Dakota out of the detention cell, and they take the two women to a secret room because they are lusting over Cherry and Dakota. In the detention cell, Ray and the restaurant owner attempt to fight back against the military guards to escape. The restaurant owner got shot in the stomach, leaving him injured. Ray and the other detainees fight back again, and this time they successfully kill the military guards. They manage to free themselves from detention. The scientist and Ray head to the basement, where the chemical weapon supply is stored. There, they encounter the lieutenant alone. He requests Ray to let them leave with the chemical weapon supply. He reveals to them that they are on a mission to hunt down Bin Laden when they get infected with the chemical. So he claims that he and his soldiers deserve to be alive. As the lieutenant thinks that he is trapped, he removes his chemical gas mask, causing him to slowly mutate into an ugly zombie. This leaves Ray no choice but to shoot him to death. Meanwhile upstairs, the two pervert soldiers attempt to abuse Cherry. The man forces Cherry to dance in front of him. Out of nowhere, Cherry kicks him in the face, using her wooden leg. Then, Cherry stabs him in the eye using the wood leg, causing him to scream out of pain. But the other man grabs Cherry and drags her away while the pervert soldier reveals his mutating but smelly parts. Luckily, Dakota shoots anesthetics at the two, making them disabled. On the other hand, Ray and the scientist arrive in the room and eventually Ray finds Cherry's wooden leg already broken. So he attaches a high-powered gun to her broken leg. She then shoots the mutated soldier using the gun leg, and Ray gives the guns to the remaining people who are downstairs and instructs them to head towards the helicopter outside. He asks who can pilot the helicopter, and the club owner volunteers to pilot it. On the side, the sheriff and the restaurant owner are severely wounded. They decide to stay behind inside the base to detonate the bomb. Ray and Cherry ride the motorcycle, and they drive outside to clear the zombies and the remaining soldiers. As they arrive outside, the soldiers charge at them, and Cherry shoots back with her gun leg. It turns out that the remaining soldiers are attempting to leave with the chemical supply, using the helicopter. Ray suggests charging at the soldiers, but the scientist suggests to Ray that they should stay alive, and they shouldn't take any unnecessary risks as they are the only chance to find a solution to the chemical infection. The sheriff and the restaurant owner detonate the bombs, but in the process they kill themselves. Meanwhile, Cherry jumps through the blast and she shoots an explosive shell toward the soldiers. She then shoots bullets at the other men, who attempt to shoot back at her. A soldier almost hits her, but she uses her dancing talents to evade it. Just then a zombie attempts to shoot her back, but Ray jumps into the scene to protect her using himself as a meat shield, and shoots the zombie. In response, the zombie manages to shoot him before dying. Cherry checks on her ex and finds him severely wounded. As the place is clear of attackers, the scientist and the other survivors ride the helicopter. Dakota jumps into the helicopter, and to her surprise, Doctor awaits her inside. Fortunately, her father is there to protect her. Her father then shoots Doctor to death. As everyone finally manages to ride the helicopter, the club owner pilots the helicopter and manages to hit more zombies along the way. Whereas Cherry and Ray are left alone on the ground. Dakota throws a rope to Cherry so she can ride the helicopter. She has no other choice but to leave Ray dying on the ground, since he is severely wounded. She holds onto the helicopter rope as she bids final goodbye to her beloved ex. In the next scene, the survivors arrive in Mexico, where they are finally safe. There, everyone starts a new life. It is revealed that Cherry has eventually given birth to her and Ray's baby, while Dakota's son is still alive. In the end, the survivor happily starts a new life.